Hi guys, welcome back to my video. In this video, we're going to be doing my own everyday Chinese Douyin makeup look. I got so many questions on this look, so I had to show you. This look is so pretty and I wear it all the time, so let's get into it. So my skin is already nice and prepped. If you want to see how I do it, check out my skincare tutorial linked above. Getting into the base makeup first, I'm going to use this new foundation that I've been loving so much, the Estee Lauder one. It's a very soft matte foundation and I love the coverage and long wear on this. I just love it. So I apply only a little bit to my problem area. This is a very full coverage foundation like I said, so you really do not need too much with this. I'm blending this out with a stippling brush, which is actually a blush brush, but it really works perfectly because the stippling brush makes sure that I really cover everything that I need to without adding too much. I like dense brushes too, but I just feel like with this formula, I might get a little bit stuck. So a stippling brush is a little bit better. Especially when it comes to long wearing makeup, thin layers are really going to be your best friend. You don't want to go too thick, or when you start getting sweaty and oily, it will start separating real fast. For my under eyes, I've really been liking the technique of focusing specifically on my dark circles and not bringing it all the way to my eye fat. This helps tremendously with creasing under the eyes because my eye creases are all on my eye fat. So if I just cover up my dark circles and the eye fat is just covered with eyeshadow, it's a win-win and there's no creasing. Here's a bit more of a close-up so you can see a little bit better. The skin looks so good. But I do like to bring up just a little bit of the excess, whatever's left on my brush, a little bit under the eyes. It just gives it a much better base for the eyeshadow to sit on versus it just being my bare skin. For powder, I've been loving this one from One Size, the translucent one. I feel like it has really good long wear because it's so much thicker than other powders. So I apply a little powder to my thick brush, making sure to blend out the creases though, and really make sure to go in on my under eyes. I'm really not using a lot. I have the mini, so I'm very limited in how much amount I get. But you see how I'm really tapping it in, especially where my creases are. Just because I didn't apply that much product there doesn't mean it doesn't have to be set. One thing I particularly love about this powder is how blurring it is. Like, it really does give the finish of a pressed powder without you having to put on one. I will say though, be careful. I don't feel like this powder is truly translucent and it has a tiny bit of color. Because of that, it kind of makes the areas I put it on a little bit brighter than I want to. So what I've been loving lately is using just a little bit of a skin tint that's a darker shade and just putting this over some of the areas. I'm starting with my chin first because I want to make sure that it's not just coming out of nowhere. It should blend in somewhere. I put a little bit on my forehead too, just to kind of tone it down, but the majority of it is going around my cheekbone area just to make sure that I'm blending my lower face and my under eyes a little bit better together. It's a very tiny detail, but I feel like it makes a big difference. My under eyes look very blurred, but just because I want to be extra and give it a little bit more of a blurred look, I go in with my favorite pressed powder. But you can see I'm going in with a smaller brush and really just putting it directly under my eyes and on the sides of my nose. I'm not going all over my under eye. You don't want to add way too much powder or it's going to start looking cakey and you might start looking dry. This powder is pretty intense, so a little bit goes a long way. And see how good this powder makes my skin look? I swear it really is like a filter. For blush, I'm going on top with a little bit of my favorite pale blush. This is just to brighten my under eyes a tiny bit while adding a little bit of a pink tint. I love pale blushes because they really brighten the under eyes up and make it a really nice base for when you add a more pigmented blush on top. Plus, this blush really has an extremely blurring formula, so I love it a lot for that reason. Going in with my more pigmented pink blush, I put this directly under my eyes. Even though I'm using a bigger brush, you can see that it's extremely pointed and defined in one area. I'm not really swiping all over my face, and you can see I'm really putting it underneath my eyes. Then taking the tiniest bit of a red blush to add a little bit more color without it being so pink, I put this smack dab in the middle but directly under my eyes. Then just a little bit on the nose to bring it all together, and it looks so cute. Although I didn't use liquid or cream blush, this powder blush combo really stays on all day for me. Now moving on to the eyebrows, I'm gonna go on top with my little brow gel. This is tinted a little bit lighter than my natural brow color, which is like an ash gray. I do this just to lighten up my brows so that they're not so harsh. If I fill it in with that ash gray color, especially since my brows kind of have that blocky shape, I feel like it just makes it even worse, especially with such a darker makeup look. So I fill it in with an eyeshadow that's also a little bit lighter than my natural brow color too. I'm really not too specific with my brows, to be honest. I really like my brows being nice and natural, so I fill it in very messily. But what I've been really liking doing lately is just shaping it up with a little bit of my foundation. This makes the brows look a little bit more structured without me actually filling it in to make it look more structured. And when you blend it out, it really does look very soft. I feel like it makes a big difference in my look, so I like doing it. Then on my tail, I like to just go in with my brow pen and fill it in a little bit more. I really love brow pens because they can mimic the hair super easily. Now moving on to the eye makeup, it was actually very simple. I just kind of do a regular brown shade all over my eyelid, and I'm going a little bit lighter just because I have that hyperpigmentation. I have really oily eyelids, so I avoid any liquids on my eye, especially if I'm trying to go for something that's long wearing. Plus, I'm not trying to go for full coverage. I just want something to use as a base. For my eyeliner, I just use black eyeshadow and I go in on a thin brush. I made sure to bring you guys up close and personal so you can really see what I'm doing. I'm doing the movements for the eyeliner. It's mostly just swiping and patting in place, especially when it gets to the lash line. I do bring my eyeliner all the way to the inner corner, and I do that just by patting. And to get that really thin tip, it's easy to just take it with your fingernail and drag it out so it looks very flawless. When it comes to long wear, I've never really had any issues with my eyeshadow as eyeliner smudging. Once I put it in this place, it really does lock in and hold on all day. The only time it really moves is if my eyes start watering, and that's kind of inevitable sometimes. But I love doing eyeshadow as eyeliner because of the precision and control I have with it. Now for the main star of the show, which is the Egg Yolk makeup. I'm going in with a light brown shade and just running this throughout my lower lash line. This is really where you're going to get that 3D effect and make your Egg Yolk look not so flat. This step can really make or break your Egg Yolk makeup. I feel like it just brings everything together. Without it, it can sometimes look like there's something missing. So I really recommend doing this step. I also like doing this step with gels, which I find are a little bit better than eyeshadows. Especially for long wear, cream stick the absolute best. Speaking of cream sticks, I've been loving this one for my Egg Yolk highlight. This is how a normal K-Beauty Egg Yolk highlighter looks, and here's the one that I have. You can also see it's a lot more creamier, and I feel like it sticks really good. So I put this in my inner corner, kind of dragging it out to about the middle. I don't go all the way because I already have the eye fat in the area, so it's kind of like redundant. In fact, majority of the highlighter is in the inner corner, so I kind of just blend out the middle to soften it a little bit more. On my left eye though, my eye fat is a lot more prominent, so I focus less on the highlight. When you already have eye fat and you're doing Egg Yolk makeup, especially if they're uneven, you really need to take into account the highlight and the contouring that you're doing. So because I have more eye fat on this eye, I focus more on the contouring and making it look a little bit smaller. One way of achieving that is by really focusing on the lash line, which will make the eye fat look a little bit more thinner. That's why I'm using the brow pen specifically in the inner corner, because that's where I have a kind of droop going on. So to make it look more straighter and more thinner, I put it right there in that corner. And using that same shade I used in the lash line, I'm just going to do a little bit more contour. Like I said, I do more contour on this eye because the eye fat is more prominent. So I apply it a little bit above where my eye fat is. But because I have less fat in my inner corner, I don't do as much contour there. See how defined and thinner it looks compared to my right eye? This makes it look a lot more even. The key to Egg Yolk makeup is really just being precise. If you're too messy or you're going in too rough or with too much product, it's gonna look a little bit crazy. So just by practicing that over and over, you will get so much better. Now you can see majority of the Egg Yolk makeup is highlight. So just to add a little bit more of that contrast, I'm going in with a light brown shadow and putting this specifically on the outer edges. This kind of creates a nice little gradient effect without making it look too flat. Another very important key step in this look is by adding a little bit of inner corner highlight. And no, this isn't with an actual highlighter, this is just with a lighter eyeshadow. Put it directly in the inner corner and blend up kind of like a half moon shape. And doing this will really connect the highlight with the Egg Yolk to the highlight on the eye, making it look a lot more cohesive. Without it, again, the makeup look can look very flat. And one of the last steps on the Egg Yolk makeup that I always do is just adding a little bit of the darkest blush that I put on, which is this red one, and slightly tapping it onto the Egg Yolk makeup. This is just again going to connect the blush to the under eyes and make it look very cohesive. You do not want a lot. It shouldn't be super visible. You just want a tiny bit so it matches. For lashes, I'm going to apply some manhole lashes with individuals. If you want to see how I do this, check out the tutorial linked above. The lashes really complete the look and I would really recommend getting them. It might seem hard, but I promise it's super easy and my tutorial will definitely help you out. To complete the lash look though, we need to go in with some bottom lashes. So I just like to take some mascara and apply it to my tweezers and start clumping my natural lashes. Now you're not going to pull them out, you're just going to clump them and slide down gently. So clump, slide, clump, slide. On each eye, I think I want to say I do about 6 or 7, but it really does depend on your natural lower lashes. It really completes the look and makes your eyes look a lot bigger. For inner corner highlight, I'm going in with a shimmer eyeshadow stick, just putting it directly in my inner corner and sliding a little bit into my Egyo style makeup. I don't go very far with it, stopping at about the middle, and I also put this in the middle of my eyelid. Like I said, creams stick the best, so I really like using this as a glitter topper. It doesn't fade or anything, and I know that it's going to last me all day. Like I described with the inner corner highlight with the eyeshadow, doing that underneath it also helps a lot. So I'm just using a matte highlighter and putting it directly underneath my eye, focusing it more on the inner corner and on the sides of my nose. So now the upper eyelid, lower eyelid, and under eye are now all connected with highlight, and it looks very cohesive. It also helps highlight my nose for the nose contour we're about to do. The contour is really there only to match the eye makeup look so that my nose doesn't look completely flat. So it's not for the purpose of making the nose smaller, it's just to match the eye makeup look. I do it a bit messily by just going on the side of my nose and a little bit on the tip, but overall it's very simple. For actual facial highlighter, I love this glitter eyeshadow. It's the perfect shade. It's like a neutral gold color and it looks so beautiful on the cheeks. I put this directly underneath my outer corner and you see that shine. It looks so stunning. Make sure to put it on the tip and the bridge of the nose. It pulls everything together. I particularly love this highlighter because it gives such a luxe look, like my skin isn't real. And lastly, moving on to lippies, I have a couple lippies here. First, going in with a brown matte color, I'm putting this specifically around the edges and blending out to kind of get a blurred effect. This gives a really nice natural finish and base for the rest of the lippies I'm about to put on. Using a bright red pinky lip, I'm putting this directly into the middle and blending this out a little bit towards the brown. It adds a really beautiful tint to the lips and pairs very well with the blush. Then lastly, going over with two glosses, a sheer milky pink gloss and a silver shimmer shade. This lip is supposed to be very soft, hence why I'm using so many sheer lippies. For this look, I really don't want to draw too much attention away from the eyes, which is why the lip is so simple. And this is the end of the look. It's so pretty and I love doing this for my everyday. I get so many compliments on it and it just looks so dolly and cute. Plus, it's really easy to do, so I definitely recommend this to anyone who wants to get into Chinese makeup. I really hope this tutorial helped. Make sure to like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!